Greetings from Ebbets Field. They call it Big League Baseball, folks, because you've got to be bigger and better to stay up here.
Our cameras visit Ebbets Field, Brooklyn.
25,000 people are here to see baseball history made today. What will the highly publicized Jackie Robinson do today?
In baseball, it's not who or what you are, but can you play the game?
Will organized baseball's first Negro player make good, or will he fail? Right now, I see Jackie stepping into the box.
Jackie wallops a home run into the lower left field stand. The Brooklyn fans go wild.
What a memorable day, especially for Jackie Robinson.
My name is Skyzoo, Brooklyn born and bred. Birthplace right here in Ebbets Field Apartments. This is hallowed ground, the home of the legendary Brooklyn Dodgers, the home of the one and only Jackie Robinson. His story's been told time and time again, but imagine if he could tell it on his terms, in his way. Imagine that.
Hearing about Jackie and, his incredible stories, I think I was probably in, I'm guessing Little League.
I was in high school, getting ready to be drafted.
But I didn't really, start learning more about him until I got into the big leagues.
Jackie Robinson was the biggest, most iconic American hero.
People thought he was probably the greatest athlete in America at the time, and maybe of all time.
Jackie Robinson is now the most talked about athlete in America.
He paved the way for all the rest of the black players to be successful in baseball.
You don't have Colin Kaepernick, you don't have Muhammad Ali, you don't have Jabbar, you don't have activism in sports without Jackie Robinson.
And here's Jackie.
I wasn't born on first base. I made crowns out of the thorns they turned away. I pull into your city, on guard, you circle dates. Lines long like who they brung along to Murder Maid. Murder Maid be the only way to stop me. But God is my witness, I'm here to walk godly. Humbleness upon me, voice of a crowd, singular army. Not a shadow of a doubt could allure me. The moral of the story, I stood on the hate that they layered under me. Shoulders too broad for the cloth that they cut up for me. Couldn't nobody come for me, Major League stuck with me. Mama was a sharecropper, so I planted money trees. Bodied all of the above, body comfortably uncomfortable, but it's nothing new. Trust me, to hate me is to love me. And bet I love all of you more, like the applause killing all of you soft. But know my legacy is more than what you thought of when you repping me. So sing the whole song, every melody. Black boy joy, I'm the recipe. I'm the recipe. And know my legacy is more than what you thought of when you repping me. So sing the whole song, heavy melody. Black boy joy, I'm the recipe. I'm the recipe. I wasn't born on first base. No! I wasn't born on first base. No!
Definitely know about that. You're believing. You know that you think it. Oh, I forgot. Yes, sir. Empanadas, full of that fried jack.
These young men right here represent the same city that Jackie did. It's where his footsteps laid the foundation for their major league aspirations.
Oh, finally you want to show up. We've been here for like 20 minutes. What's wrong with you?
Overslept.
We need you sleep.
Doing what?
Doing what?
Watching the Mets game.
You're watching the Mets? At least watch the Yankees. They win.
Got a better record. Okay,
Oh, finally you're here. Come on.
Got stuff in the trunk.
I wonder if they even know who Jackie Robinson is, what he was about, and what he stood for. Everybody looking for heroes to bring the feeling back. One made you see one when you look where the mirror's at. The back crack wide open, but you ain't hearing that. Integrity shows where your spirit at. See, when you think of Jack, you think of the first to lace him up. They say it every April 15th, but they don't say enough. Rookie of the year in the ranks, as well as Rookie of the year at the bank. Before he cleared out the tank. When he cleared out the Yanks to get his first chip to throw up, really the second if you count the one on his shoulders.
Do you know anything about Jackie Robinson's legacy?
Well, I know that he was a four-sport athlete at UCLA. I mean, he played football, he ran track, he played baseball, he played basketball. He was just different.
Number 22,
He's not in the Hall of Fame because he was the first black player to play in the majors. He's in the Hall of Fame because he had a .312 lifetime batting average.
Jackie rifles a shot into left field.
He was a leader in stealing bases.
The Brooklyn Dodgers speed merchant flies into second.
He was a great defensive player.
Robinson makes a fine pickup of his grounder and turns it into a double play.
He was a great bunter, which you don't see anymore.
And it's just amazing what he had to endure and still was the Rookie of the Year. Still won the Most Valuable Player award. Amazing.
He played baseball, basketball, football, track. And baseball was the one that And then he became a great, great baseball player, and obviously one of the most significant role models in our generation.
This is the story of Jackie Robinson that you don't know.
Today, Jackie Robinson is devoting his energies to helping his black brothers and sisters.
Any of you guys know that he owned the bank?
No.
The story of a Hall of Famer breaking barriers off the field.
Jackie was a man of action, and he did something about it.
Not just impacting America, but changing it.
Freedom National Bank is dedicated to helping its people in the financial era, which we believe is the next frontier for the Negro people.
It's the story of one man's hustle to get to the bag.
I think I first became aware of Jackie Robinson is my father loved him. And we used to listen to the games on the radio.
Jackie Robinson leads off. With a 3-2 count, Jackie wallops a home run into the lower left field stands as the Brooklyn fans go wild.
I first became aware of Jackie Robinson as soon as my father died in 1991. I clung to Jackie Robinson the same way that a child who just lost her father clings on to memories of her father. He was fortunate to have Jackie Robinson be his hometown hero. For the black boys growing up in Pasadena, it was an identity.
You couldn't grow up in a Jewish family in the 1950s around New York without knowing the name Jackie Robinson. He was a hero. We had his photograph up on the kitchen wall in our house.
My earliest recollection of Jackie Robinson, I was probably about maybe 11 or 12. I knew that he was more than a baseball player.
He was an idol to me because of all that he did on the baseball field at the time. You know, I was young and wanted to be in the big leagues and wanted to do everything that he was doing, steal bases, hit for power, play second base. And those things, everything that he was doing on the baseball field just inspired me to become who I am today.
My grandfather used to talk about Jackie Robinson all the time. My grandmother was a Seventh-day Adventist. It's like a Christian denomination, and they honor the Sabbath. So Friday night to Saturday night was pretty boring for a little kid because there was no TV, no radio, no secular entertainment, if you will, with the exception of baseball.
2 out, Jackie Robinson set his sights and sent a scratching home run into the left field stands to put Brooklyn ahead 9-8.
The baseball game could be on anytime. And I think a lot of that had to do with Jackie Robinson.
In 1949, Jackie led the Dodgers to the World Series and was named the National League's most valuable player. But in the middle of the season, he stepped away from the plate and onto the house floor.
Baseball's top hitter and star second baseman of the Brooklyn Dodgers, Jackie Robinson, comes to bat for Uncle Sam to refute Paul Robeson's remark that U.S. Negroes would not fight in a war against Russia.
I'm on my way to Washington to testify before the House on Un-American Activities Committee. That's all I can say at this time. I'll make further statements from Washington.
What happened is that the House Un-American Activities Committee were holding hearings on the infiltration of communists in the black community. What they were really trying to do was to destroy Paul Robeson's reputation because he was the most famous black American at the time. And he was a communist and a radical and an outspoken activist for racial justice and for working class rights. So they thought, okay, we'll bring Jackie Robinson to Congress and we'll get Jackie Robinson, who we know is not a communist, to testify against Paul Robeson.
I've been asked to express my views on Paul Robeson's statements in Paris to the effect that American Negroes would refuse to fight in any war against Russia because we love Russia so much.
Once again, we have America seizing an opportunity where there's an ideological split. You know, Paul Robeson is a communist. He's a demagogue also. And then you have Jackie, who's the clean American, and neither one of them were either one of those.
I haven't any comment to make except that, on that statement, except that if Mr. Robeson actually made it, it sounds very silly to me.
And they want to orchestrate basically a war between the two of them. Jackie Robinson was very reluctant to go to Washington and testify before Congress. But Branch Rickey, the owner of the Dodgers, said, if you don't do it, you're going to get subpoenaed. So you better do it willingly. So he reluctantly did.
But that doesn't mean that we're going to stop fighting race discrimination in this country until we've got it licked. It means that we're going to fight it all the harder because our stake in the future is so big, we can win our fight without the communists, and we don't want their help.
And here's Jackie. Jackie Robinson has stolen home, a play some have called the most exciting moment in World Series history.
And these Dodgers at last are world champions.
Back in the 1950s, the average player was making about $10,000 or $12,000 a year. So every Major League Baseball player had to have a job during the off season. Some of them worked in stores, some of them worked on farms. Jackie had endorsements. He started in 1947, he was 28 years old, and he played for the Dodgers for 10 years. So by the time 1957 came around, he was 38 years old, and he was no longer the player he had been.
Slow roller, Robinson charges it, barehands it, throws, and it is in time on a beautiful play. And Jackie can still play ball.
A lot of people think Jackie retired because he got traded to the Giants, but I don't think that is true.
What do you guys feel about that? That he refused to play for his rival team?
You going to a rival team is gonna lead to more hatred because he's already discriminated because of his color. So him being considered like betrayal is gonna make it worse for him.
That's like Derek Jeter going to the Red Sox.
Say something.
Those of you who rushed out, as I did yesterday, and bought a copy of Look magazine, and if you didn't buy a copy of Look, you've no doubt heard the repercussions in the paper, and you know that Jackie Robinson is now the most talked about athlete in America because he declared his intentions in yesterday's Look magazine as having finished his baseball career.
In return for the exclusive rights to his story upon retiring from baseball, Look magazine paid Jackie $50,000. That $50,000 would be more than $500,000 today.
And they saw what he meant in everything that he was doing and wanted to share it to the world, and they did. And Jackie knew how to get to the bag.
Yeah. I mean, it was a smart money move. Like, he got paid $500,000 just from the story alone.
So, I mean, that was the best decision for him, you know, for his image, and then he also got a good bag out of it.
Jackie, frankly speaking, to what extent was the fact that you were traded to the Giants a factor in your decision to retire?
It had absolutely nothing to do with my decision. I had signed a contract with Mr. Black 10 minutes before I knew that I had been traded. So the trade had absolutely nothing to do with my decision.
The point of sale when they first gave us our farewells. And us being reminded of everything fair tells was enough to kick a speech on my own. You hear it well and get inspired by me being denied until fear failed. Not an option to be chosen or settling for less. Don't rely on me to go alone. Built up my respect while they was trying to keep the protocol. I broke up the mold of it. Trying to link me, you gon' blow your budget. I made the league pay me like the owner type. Name on my back came from my owner, right? Okay, so we gon' switch the prototype. Build a business out of your talent, I embody that. Brand big enough where I dare you to try to buy me back. Now picture me debating over 5 bands. Took at least 30 to open my hands. Know the way that I stand, 10 toes down. So if I ran, it was only to get this ring, just as I planned. Right, it wouldn't let me walk away though. They said it's hard to put greatness on replay mode. Crowd like Jackie say that it ain't so. Heard it loud and clear, how could I say no?
And I would like to know if Jackie Robinson will miss playing baseball.
Yes, I'm sure that I'll miss it very much. I love the game of baseball, and I love what baseball has done for me.
Professional sports is like, you know, when you retire, you really are like you're dying. It's like they say a professional athlete dies 2 times, and it's very true. My last year playing in the WNBA was 2015. It's getting some of the control back into your life as you make the next step in terms of your identity.
When Jackie retired, I couldn't imagine, what he went through, kind of like a midlife crisis. You've been doing something for so long. For me, not stepping on the field again, I'm for sure gonna go through a midlife crisis. My wife tells me all the time, but she'll be by my side. I got my best friends by my side to help me find my next purpose.
I think that when Jackie Robinson retired from baseball, in many ways, he was just getting started. It was really his coming out in 1957. Now is Act 2.
Rookie of the Year, MVP, a 6-time All-Star and a World Series champ. Jackie Robinson was, indisputably, one of the best to ever play the game. But his retirement at age 38 left much work still to be done. He was no longer a Dodger. He was now an entrepreneur, a visionary, a leader, a man on a mission.
I think at 38 that I have to start thinking about my future, and I think I'm doing that in associating myself with Look magazine and Chock full of Nuts.
When he retired, he had to find another job because no major league team would offer him a job as a coach or a manager or as a broadcaster.
I had decided that I'd used up the good years. I didn't want to work out the string as a pinch hitter or a part-time player. Most of all, I wanted security for my family.
In 1957, after Jackie Robinson retires from baseball, he becomes the vice president of personnel for Chock full of Nuts.
If you lived in New York in the 1950s, Chock full of Nuts was kind of like what Starbucks is now. There were Chock full of Nuts restaurants all over the place.
What appealed to me most was that I wasn't being hired in order to have my name adorn a letterhead, but I was being asked to join the company and become an integral part of the organization. The job was and still is a challenge, but that's the way I like it.
For him to be the first VP of a national corporation in the U.S., that's very intriguing. Just shows his greatness, not just on the baseball field, but off.
The guy that started Chock full of Nuts, this guy, William Black, started off selling basically on the streets of New York in like a push cart. He hired Jackie for 2 reasons. One, he admired Jackie Robinson for his outspoken expressions against racial injustice, but he also had a black workforce. And, they were talking about organizing a union. He didn't like that. And hiring Jackie as the director of employment relations, he thought would help to address some of the concerns that the workers had.
Looking back now on my days in baseball, I can remember times when I was advised not to press issues or speak out when I felt it was necessary, but I couldn't do that.
When he took the position at Chock full of Nuts, I think that was the beginning of Jackie Robinson, the celebrity, the man who was still just kind of a poster. There was plenty of other African-American celebrities, but there was none like Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson's activism journey began on the field, but it developed and intensified off of it. He was fearless with his words, standing up and speaking up for what was right.
If it means boycotting the New York Athletic Club because they discriminate against Negroes,
Well, they
then
say
we
they
do.
don't.
Oh, they're liars. They do discriminate. You can barely get in the front door. And they've been trying to get them for years to break down this barrier, but the Negro continues to do it.
I think he brought activism to work with him every single day. You see him writing letters to Nixon, him sending telegrams to political figures with his employee letterhead. It's gangster.
In 1958, Jackie and U.S. Vice President Richard Nixon corresponded regularly by mail.
Jackie Robinson was a very trusted advisor and someone very close to Richard Nixon. Lots of communication between Nixon and Jackie Robinson.
Richard Nixon, who had cultivated Jackie for many years, basically said to Jackie what he wanted to hear: I'll be an advocate for civil rights.
Jackie was so convinced and so concerned with two parties. He wanted a two-party system that checked and balanced each other out.
2 years later, Nixon was the Republican nominee for president against Democratic Senator John F. Kennedy.
Was he going to support John Kennedy, or was he going to support the Republican candidate, Richard Nixon?
One thing is certain, he was definitely in the forefront of these politicians' minds.
That Jackie Robinson endorsed Richard Nixon for president, which many people among his friends thought was a mistake.
Nixon lost the 1960 election to JFK. By the time Nixon ran again in 1968, Jackie had already withdrawn his support because he felt that Nixon was no longer an advocate for the African-American community.
You're always going to make one side happy and one side mad, you know? Jackie had a lot of opinions that people didn't like, but then he had a lot of opinions that people did like.
It's a shame that, first of all, people thought he was a prop or that he was, put up there to appease.
He was somebody who had to endure an enormous amount of criticism, including some African-American activists in the 1960s who called him an Uncle Tom.
One prominent leader who was very public about his thoughts on Jackie Robinson was Malcolm X.
Dear good friend, I was one of your many ardent fans. Even today, you still display the same old cunning and shiftiness. And you're still trying to win the big game through your white boss. Our people followed you on the baseball field. We are cautious and doubtful about your shifty position in this political field.
Dear Malcolm X, coming from you, an attack is a tribute. Although you insinuated that I eagerly do the bidding of influential whites, I simply want to say, Malcolm, that no one sends me anywhere. Personally, I reject your views. America is not perfect by a long shot, but I happen to like it here and will do all I can do to help make it the kind of country where my children can live in with dignity.
Each man must have had tremendous respect for the other for the simple fact that they were working toward the civil liberties of their people.
I think Jackie used everything that he had, all of his leverage, all of his celebrity, but his day job was also activism.
In the 1960s, America was facing a racial reckoning, and Birmingham, Alabama, considered one of the most segregated cities in the country, was a hotbed for violence. Martin Luther King Jr. himself asked Jackie to come to Birmingham to speak and stand in solidarity with the community.
And I don't think that white Americans understand what Birmingham means to all of us throughout this country. And we think about the little kids being tossed from one side of the street to the other by the tremendous force of this hose. It's a picture that's being portrayed throughout the world. And I think the conscience of America is beginning to awaken.
Could have been anybody else, or maybe not. The crowd always had a way with words and a way with rocks, but he always had a way with resilience. Home runs tapping on God's ceiling, money talk brilliant. The road less traveled is usually worth the journey through it, but most be too shook that you can't hurry to it. But you couldn't shake Jackie never, so do remember what he carried on his back forever. The race wars and a so-called safe sport, for the love of a people refusing to take more. The fight that it take to ball a fist and to stay calm, putting everyone else first so that no one else hurts. And when it works, can't nobody deny it. You can't blind hide it. Most people would have never survived it.
You know, last week we had really no idea about coming to Birmingham until we looked into the newspapers and we saw a policeman with his hand on the chest of one of the young fellows down here and the leap of what appeared to be a tremendously vicious dog.
It seemed like it was the 50s was a certain Jackie Robinson, and then the 60s was a totally different Jackie Robinson. And I think it has to do with the decade. Honestly, I say it's 50s America and 60s America. That's what happened. The 60s happened.
In the spring of 1963, more than 1,000 students skipped class and gathered at 6th Street Baptist Church to lead a peaceful march through downtown Birmingham towards City Hall. As they approached police lines, hundreds of students were arrested and carried off to jail.
One little boy was asked whether he wants to leave the jail, and he says yes, if the rest of them want to go. You see, this is a fantastic kind of thing. Youngsters, I think it was in the Bible that said that the little child will lead. It was a little 8-year-old girl who first got the people to start picketing. They couldn't get anybody to go down, but she jumped up, an 8-year-old girl, walked down and says, I will go.
And a child shall lead them.
And a child shall lead them, that's right.
A lot of times, it's not just with your voice that we have to cry out about injustice or inequality. Sometimes it's got to be about action. And that's what I loved about Jackie.
You're constantly hearing that the president is concerned. It isn't enough that the president of the United States is concerned when these kinds of acts are hurting the prestige of our country. In my opinion, he's got to be more than concerned. He is the president of 100% of the people, and I think that he's got to stand up and work for all of the people here and not just say, certainly I'm concerned.
Jackie Robinson, to me, is the first to make it not just okay to talk about more than sports, but made it necessary. He was the first to sort of combat the shut up and dribble mentality.
I've never been so proud of individuals as I was of Tommy Smith and John Carlos at Olympic Games. I think this, to me, was the greatest demonstration of personal conviction and pride of it that I've really seen.
You don't have activism in sports without Jackie Robinson.
Then there would have been no Bill Russell. Without Jackie Robinson, there would have been no Arthur Ashe.
You don't have Colin Kaepernick. You don't have Muhammad Ali.
There would have been no Billie Jean King.
I think it was very important for him to speak up and be an activist. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for what Jackie did, not just for me, but for everyone. He was that important that he affected years and years and lives, after him.
Jackie Robinson was more than a man of action. He was a pioneer. When there was a need, he filled it. He didn't just take advantage of opportunities, he created them.
Freedom National Bank is dedicated to helping its people in the financial area, which we believe is the next frontier for the Negro people. Banking, insurance, any kind of businesses. We believe that Freedom National Bank is the forerunner here, and we're going to continue to do so.
Any of you guys know that he owned the bank?
No.
On the bank.
Like his personal bank? Like a share in it.
Jackie and his partners opened the bank in Harlem.
I didn't know that. So he was a businessman.
In the 1950s and 60s, every bank in America was discriminating against African Americans. In fact, when Jackie Robinson and Rachel wanted to move to Stamford, Connecticut, nobody would sell them a house.
At first, we were told that the house we were interested in had been sold just before we inquired. And once we met a broker who told us he would like to help us find a home, but his clients were against selling to Negroes.
And what banks literally did throughout the country, not just in New York, was to basically draw lines around certain neighborhoods and said, we're not making loans in these neighborhoods.
Redlining was giving banks a very specific map of where they could and could not offer loans. All of Harlem was redlined. Any area, neighborhood, community that was heavily populated by Black people was an automatic no. So you had these green zones, and they would literally have these borders around these communities. This is where you can, this is where you will not.
And so he wanted to do something about that. So we started a bank, and he started a construction company to build affordable housing.
Fast forward to my calling, league money is pouring. Believe I want all this, I seen where it's falling. It's more so from off of the bag. I've been rare, I'm in accordance with that. I'm sent here to be the moral of that. Bottom line, and signing the dotted line mean even more when you black. I left the game to take another field. Same black boy that came from the field, paving the way to make your money build. Call me anything but negligent, cause I put it all on the same line I inherited. The question is, why would you question me on my intentions at all? When fighting for ownership became a big enough call, and I accepted every time that the phone rang, as long as it was helping you invest in your own lane. Know how I started as second lieutenant, moved into second base, targeted by who was in second place. Let them chase, catch me at the bank that I own, printing my own money, wanting nothing more than my own, taking the throne from me. And if you fear it, you won't never understand it. Treat it like I'm at bat, never underhanded. Back when I was abandoned, I still put the people first. The same people who swore they would never see this work. Political entrepreneur from the Hall of Fame, who came for power when you called his name. RBI, running blacks in. RBI, said I was running blacks in. RBI. Jackie always knew that money talks, so he put the power in the hands of his own people. Freedom National Bank was funded by a group of Harlem business leaders that included beauty and cosmetic mogul Rose Morgan. Jackie served as chairman of the board, working closely with the bank's first president, William Hudgens.
Jackie Robinson came in, he wanted to talk to me, and what it was about. Jackie had the idea of getting Freedom National Bank going.
8 of us got together, and we pooled our money and got the charter.
We think Freedom National Bank is a must in every area such as this throughout this country. Well, what we hope that it will do is make it possible for people who have been denied opportunities in previous years to get the kind of opportunities that they want.
It's an economic game changer. Here, Jackie is again leveling the playing field for Black people. You can buy in your neighborhood, reinvest in your community. He gave an economic base for Black people to have an opportunity to thrive where they live.
He's done an awful lot for Brooklyn. He's done an awful lot for the city. He's done an awful lot for the entire country. He's a great pride to us, and we feel confident in the business world, Jackie will be as successful as he has been in the athletic world.
I think it's great that Jackie Robinson founded the Freedom National Banks, all of these banks. We could pool our money together and invest and have this economic empowerment.
We believe that we can uplift the community as far as their financial needs are concerned, and with their cooperation, I'm sure by the evidence of the people here that we're going to be able to get it.
When Jackie started the bank and was able to give to his community in a different facet other than just being a voice, now he was actually on the ground helping. That's where he really thrived. I think that's really where he really found his purpose.
When I think about who's been able to do what Jackie Robinson's done outside of sports, first and foremost, Irvin Magic Johnson.
I grew up in the same community that I'm doing business in. I wanted to improve the lives of the Black and brown community by bringing in quality services, products, and goods to the inner cities of America. We can do business in our own community, make money, and put our people to work.
In 1962, Jackie Robinson was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. In the 6 decades that followed, his exemplary life on and off the field has continued to be recognized by the game and the league that he helped shape.
Jackie Robinson is something special. Special as an athlete, special as a husband and father, special as a human being. Every fan knows of Jackie Robinson's accomplishments in professional ball. What is less well known, but also of great importance, is his work with the youth of America.
And the first Dodger postseason home run for Mookie Betts.
Only one African-American player appeared on a World Series roster in 2020. And that player, Mookie Betts.
I think the low number of African Americans in the big leagues now is just a product of kids just not seeing themselves. But I'm just doing my part in trying to be the face or be whatever it is to help get black players into baseball.
Hi, I'm Lennox Minor, and I'm from Compton, California.
Hi, I'm Callie Minor. I'm from Compton, California.
My nickname, The Real Deal, I throw about 77, 76.
I brought him to the event to show his culture, you know, show where he came from, show the reason why he's able to play the game. It's important to understand how the world got to where it is. And I think just showing him how important Jackie was and still is huge for his development.
Even though I'm not a baseball player and, you know, I'm a tennis player, he still has an effect on me because of what he's done. The problem with Compton is that the courts and stuff, they're just always locked up, and it's not giving the kids the resources and the things that they want to do.
We have to hop the gate sometimes to get onto the baseball field.
When you get black kids coming from rougher areas, they just don't have access to good fields to learn how to take a ground ball. I really think they just also need role models.
All right, gentlemen, let's make some black magic.
We're at Herbert Von King Park, middle of Bed-Stuy. We are affiliated with the RBI program, which means revitalizing baseball in the inner city. It's an initiative to get young black and brown kids access to baseball in the inner city. Trying to attract more kids into playing.
I'm James Robinson. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I remember when I was little, like, I was the only black kid that was playing baseball. And I was sort of, like, insecure about that because of, like, why am I the only one playing?
When you playing on Parks Field like this one, you have to utilize it. So we're trying to get them to come use and play games on our field. And they said a lot of the teams didn't want to come this end of Brooklyn. I took it as if they were saying that this is too dangerous to come to this neighborhood.
It just motivates me because there's not a lot out there, so I want to be the outlier. Like, I want to be the one that is starting a trend of having more black players in MLB.
Jackie Robinson is devoting his energies to helping his black brothers and sisters gain a stronger economic and political foothold in this country.
Militancy among athletes is not going to stop. What I mean is it's gaining momentum. More and more athletes are coming out, taking stands.
If this present generation doesn't stand up, and even more, that when their kids are growing up and playing, they'll have the same kind of problem. So it behooves these kids to stand up and do everything they possibly can.
When it comes to black celebrity, the social responsibility is inextricably tied to celebrity.
I had great men who told me early on who were black, said, hey, you have to get involved in politics. You have to get involved on issues that affect the black community around this country.
Baseball is at a watershed moment when you think about the barriers that Jackie broke. When we look at the game today, at one point we had 20% African Americans. Today is in the single digits. I think it's our responsibility to grow that number back into the teens. And I think we should all be thinking about how do we grow our game in the inner cities and around the world as Jackie Robinson started this project many, many years ago.
When I become older, I want to go back to my communities and pass on the knowledge, not just give out money, but give information so other people can also learn as well. So we can all be more financially intelligent and stable.
Round of applause for doing what you say you will. The talk cheap, but the cost steep to make it real. Easy like Sunday morning, how he made it feel. But it was hell on earth being the first, like the first risking it all to make it stick, being the first of a generation to make it rich, right? Sacrifice sound good till it's needed. Cheers up for us being who we believed in, for real.
Jackie Robinson changed baseball forever. Not only was he one of the most outstanding players in history, his legacy on the field signaled progress both in the sport and across the country. After his playing days were over, Jackie's powerful influence on American life continued. As an activist, an entrepreneur, and a man of action, he broke down barriers and created opportunities for future generations. That impact is felt around the world.
I'm extremely proud and pleased to be here this afternoon, but must admit I'm going to be tremendously more pleased and more proud when I look at that third base coaching line one day and see a black face managing in baseball. Thank you very much.
I remember when my mother came out for her first Dodger game when I became owner. I was talking to her, and all of a sudden I didn't get a response back, so I turned and looked at her, and she was crying. And I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "You don't understand. Your grandfather would have been so proud of this moment to know that you're one of the owners of his beloved Dodgers and his favorite player, Jackie Robinson." And so that just sat with me. It made me feel so good. It made me understand this man, even as he's not here, still making an impact on the world.
Do you in any way see Jackie Robinson as your father?
Is Jackie Robinson my father? Yes, I do believe that. If that's the case, then I feel Jackie Robinson is me. And I understand it now. It helps me get into the shoes of my father as a boy. So when I say, yes, my father is Jackie Robinson, I'm talking about the ball and the bat. I'm talking about that.
Your grandfather loved Jackie Robinson so much. What do you think he would say if he could see you right now?
Oh, don't do this to me right now. Oh my gosh. I think that this Afro-Seminole man from Jacksonville, Florida, born in 1916, and Robinson is your hero, I think that he would be very happy.
I can't really put it in words because what he did was just so inspiring, not just for me being black, but just for everyone in the world. And I definitely have a responsibility to continue to celebrate Jackie's life on and off the field.
Take it upon myself to speak on my unspokens. For every barrier set and the ones broken. Ebbsfield uniform, made it where my home is. Where the unthinkable went from the unnoticed to every eye in this country channeling one focus. Sight set on me, but let me breathe deep enough to put my anger in a bottle. Smile at your disgust just to repeat it tomorrow. And Ricky told me, Jackie, you just turn the other cheek. God gave you two for a reason. As much as I believed them, the red that they turned from these heathens would make a lesser man want to beat them. But proudly I walked on this field that they told me I was too dark for. The history of my cleats brought me an encore. And you can't erase history ever. The hate that came with the winds was all sticking together. Still in awe, none of that was new to me though. So it can never define me. Truthfully told, the all-star, the MVP, the world champ, I became who they said me and my nappy curls can't. But bet you they didn't see the vision beyond the pennant race. The opportunities I would literally give away. The agendas I always had in the tank. From chock full of nuts to Freedom National Bank led some of mine to call me an Uncle Tom capitalist. Pardon me for giving you my advantages. Humbly speaking, I cornered the admiring. Made them pay me just to look at my retirement. 50K then, 500K now for every intended K that I hit into the crowd. A life that became sweet as an afternoon of jazz. Scars on my knuckles from them ceilings made of glass. Rep 42 forever, right?
None of it was easy. Being a pioneer never is. But this is the story Jackie Robinson wanted you to know. That his fight was as much off the field as it was on it. It was a fight he took on every day of his life. And it's a fight we continue in his name and in his honor.